Here we continue in Shmuel Aleph. We're in Perek Chaf Daled. Pasuk Daled. At this point, David is hiding in Ein Gedi. Shul is looking for him with 3,000 of his choicest soldiers, and Shul is expecting David to be in the high ground, in the mountainous area where the big boulders are, and not, which would be the ideal hiding place. David is smart enough to figure that that's what Shul would figure out. Therefore he hides below in the caves, and because God would providentially decide that Shul should come to relieve himself in the very same cave that David was hiding himself. So therefore, now we come to Pasuk Daled, one of the supreme moments in Jewish history. Just one second. Now, the word just in the end of Pasuk Gimel, it said Shul goes lahasech es raglov. Now, obviously, the Torah always uses very modest terms to describe things that are not the most royal acts of a person. So, the word lahasech. So again, the commentators differ as to exactly if he was going to urinate or more than that. So different opinions, and really that word hasech has two different words, two different possible roots. It could come from the root from nesech yitzika, pouring. Okay, it could be pouring, and so that's kind of what's happening. Or from a lush of sichuch, which is making a sukkah. So rabbis in Bracha said to teach us that he made himself like a sukkah because he had tremendous sneeze. So therefore he would cloak himself. In other words, if you'd be in a cave and nobody's there, so what do? You just take your whole cloak off and you perform what you have to do without any clothes on. It's the cleanest way for your clothes. But rather he made himself like a sukkah, make the garments like a tent over him, like extending it out, widening it as it were. So as he does what he has to do, he doesn't have to reveal very much of his body. And so that's another pshat, as we'll see. And they're probably both right. When you're doing one pshat, you have to do the other pshat. So we'll see this will come into play very strongly shortly.
Here it says Saul went in to cover his feet.
That's a modest way of describing it. It's like a sukkah, to cover your feet. That's what a sukkah does. It's a covering. He covered up his body, covered up his feet. But obviously, why did he do that? Because he had to take care of his needs. That's clear, according to everybody. Pasuk Daled, Vayomru anshe David elov. So David's fellows. This must have been a big cave. There's a lot of people in there. So they said to him, Hinei hayom asher amar Hashem elecha. Behold, here is the day which God said to you. And what did God say to you? Hinei anochi nosei es oyivcha biyadecha. Behold, I will give you this, I will give your enemy into your hands. And now the friends are saying, V'asi lo kasher yita beinecha. You should do to him what's good in your eyes. Okay, so they really are urging him to kill him. Now, Malbim explains, I'm not finishing the pasuk intentionally. So Chashvu, they thought, after David was anointed by the king, and that's not possible of two kings holding on to one crown, and especially Shul, who's running after him, and certainly it's going to be if there's two kings, and David is promised to be the next king, so certainly it's as if Hashem said, you've got to do what you got to do to your enemy. And now, and Hashem has brought Shul, Mamish, into your cave, So clearly, God has ordained that you should kill him. Of every place for Shul to be, he has to be taking care of his needs in a compromised position that he can't defend himself, obviously. And you're in that cave. Hashem has led him to you, plain and simple. So it's ki'ilu. It's as if Hashem has said you should kill him. Okay, and also he adds the next thing. And according to halacha, you should be able to kill him, because we know if someone is coming to kill you, you must defend yourself and kill him back. And that's the second half. So it's interesting how Amei Haaretz, ignorant people, that was his group of people, they always try to figure what's on Hashem's mind, right? Because they take a little bit of information and they extrapolate what Hashem's will is. As you'll see from David HaMelech, it's not so pashut to know what Hashem's will is. But they certainly are reading events in a way that they think that's what it should be. So the way Malum is learning it, Hashem never told David that he can kill Shaul, but it's obvious from the context that that's what should happen. The Radak learns that no, it must have been either Shmuel or God Hanavi or Nasan Hanavi who told him that Hashem will put your enemies in your hands and you'll be successful. But they didn't really say it on Shaul, because the truth is, as we'll see, he doesn't kill him, he doesn't fall in his hands. But David's men figured, since God has already told you your enemies will fall into your hands, and Shaul is one of your enemies, so now's the time that he's in your hands. So that's another proper way of looking at it. Now it's interesting, if you look at the word, it's spelled Oyevecha, but we read it Oyivcha. What's the difference between Oyevecha and Oyivcha? Oyevecha means your enemies. Oyivcha means your enemy. That extra yud makes it a plural. So in other words, so they're both right. The ksiv, the way it's written, is Hashem says, "I'll put in your hands all your enemies," which is true. But the way we read it is what they felt. The extra interpretation is, and this particular enemy, which eventually doesn't pan out that way. He puts in his hands. Well, truly, he gave him into his hands to do what he wants. So both interpretations fit in over here. So clearly, if you were looking at it from a fairly objective point of view, it would seem that these Amaratzim were correct, that you should kill him. There's no reason not to kill him. First of all, David, is going to be the king one day. So how could he allow himself to be he's in mortal danger. It's not good for the Jewish people that they have a king who's obsessed with David. And David's supposed to be the king. And even if not, the king has no right to be killing him. There's no justifiable reason to kill him. Now you're in a place to defend yourself. And this is mamish the moment. And this is also, we'll call this a surprise moment. It's not something that they were planning on doing this. They never planned on this. All of a sudden, boom, it comes the opportunity comes. So there's not a lot of time to think clearly. So it's interesting, again, as we spoke about at the beginning of the week, Shaul lacked what we call this Gevuras Hadas, the control of Das. That if your intellect says to do something, that's the only thing you do. You only do what your intellect tells you to do, not what your emotion tells you to do. So this is definitely a critical moment of choice for David HaMelech, because you can be sure what his emotions are telling him to do. Without question. Now let's bring it all back now. What was the cause for his parents and family to be totally murdered by the Moabites? What was the reason for that? Hello? Shaul running after him, and they needed protection. Right? Don't you think any normal red-blooded, human-blooded person would say, I'm killing him because of my parents? And it wasn't just any old parents, it was Yishai, one of the great leaders of generation. Besides all the other miseries that he gave him, all the near-death experiences, right? There's a lot of suffering. Emotionally, I think anybody in his position would kill him. And it's halachically justifiable, especially if your emotions are making the decision here, right? So just like we saw Shul, who failed so miserably when he let his emotions get in the way of what the Das would say, David has now this decision to make. Right? And he's got everybody, and just like Shul had advisors egging him on one way, so these are David's advisors, as it were, egging him on. And more than that, Shul's advisors were plain and right giving bad advice. These guys were really giving good advice. There was nothing wrong with the advice that they were giving. It was absolutely spot on. So he's got good advisors, motive, situation, everything. I mean, the guy's planning to kill you, and now he's in here, sitting right at your door. He's got every reason to kill him. Okay. Now that we've set this up properly, I hope, we now finish Pasuk Dalet. Now you have to understand, we'll have to do Dalet and Hay together to appreciate exactly what's going on, and Vav. So, Vayakam David gets up, Vayichros es knaf hami'il asher l'Shaul balot, and he cuts the corner of Shaul's garment secretly, in a way that Shaul doesn't even understand, doesn't even realize that David cut his garment. Shaul is concentrating on what he has to do, and David comes up from behind, and he cuts the garment. Okay, there's a lot of questions on this. How is he able to cut the garment without Shaul recognizing this? We will explain this. All right, Pasuk Hey, let's just do like the whole thing. Vayehi acharechein, and it was afterwards. Vayach lev David also. David's heart hit him. I think he was feeling guilty about it. Al asher koras es kanaf asher l'Shaul, for cutting off the corner of Shaul's garment. Pasuk Vav. Vayomer lanashav, he said to his men, Chalila li me Hashem, God forbid, imas es adavar hazel adoni, that I should do this thing to my master, limshiach Hashem, to the one who's been anointed by Hashem, lishloach yadi bo, that I should send my hand against him, ki Mashiach Hashem hu, for he is the anointed one of Hashem. Vayishasa, Pasuk Zayin, Vayishasa David es anashav badvarim, and David was able to splinter the group with his words. And he didn't let them come and attack Shaul. Shaul come mehamara, and Shaul got up from the cave, and went on the way. Okay, we're not totally done with this story at all, but this next segment. So David lets him go. Okay, so a lot of questions going on over here. Why is he cutting the garment? Number one. Number two, why is his response to his cohorts so late in coming? Why didn't he give the response right away? Why only after he cut the garment, etc., etc.? So there's a lot of interpretations over here. So let's start with the Malbim. Malbim learns like this. David wasn't sure if it was time to kill Shaul. He didn't know if Shaul's time had come up. And he didn't know if it was Hashem's will that he should be killed by the person who was being pursued by him, who was halachically allowed to kill him. So David decides to make a test. And the test is like this. I will cut a corner of the garment. That's a little bit of rebelling against the king. That is disrespectful to the king to cut off his garment, and by insulting him. And now he wants to know how he's going to feel after doing that. So Pasuk Hey tells us how he feels. After he cuts the garment, his heart is like hitting him. What does that mean? That if a sensitive heart will feel certain things. And a sensitive heart, the Malbim calls it a leiv shalem, a complete heart, but a sensitive heart will be will be affected, and will regret if he's done something bad. There's a person who's a genuinely good person, in touch with the will of Hashem and the will of his neshama, will know if he's done something bad, even a little bit of thing. So after he cutting the garment, he says, I want to test out my feelings after I do something that is a bit of a rebellion against him. Now, if really it's a completely good thing to do, my neshama won't give me negative vibes. But if it's a bad thing that I'm doing, even though I may not understand why, my neshama will give me the vibes that it's not good. And therefore, his heart was hitting me. He says, this was not right. He did still feel something, And obviously it meant that the kingdom of Shul is not done. And therefore, even to just cut a little bit of the garment, that's already wasn't proper. He felt it wasn't the right thing to do. Okay, then giving the Malbim's interpretation. So now that he felt it wasn't the right thing to do, in Pasuk Vav, he tells to his cohorts, God forbid that I should do this thing. In other words, he didn't decide right away not to do this thing. He wanted to test out. So he wasn't sure if his emotions were telling him one thing. He wasn't sure if the emotions, his intellect was telling him something. He wasn't sure if it was the emotions directing the intellect or not. So he had to give some kind of a test. He was, according to the Malbim, he wasn't sure if he should trust his emotions. So I'll do something that is already a not nice thing, but it's certainly not going to hurt him. How do I feel after I've cut the garment of this person? And my neshama, a good, wholesome neshama, will react properly to what you do. And his neshama was feeling terrible. That means, you know what? It's not time for Shul to be killed. It's not stam, you pick a number and let Hashem decide. Not that. It's like, David was a sensitive soul. He knew what his soul, he could feel what his soul was feeling. And therefore, if I cut the garment and I see how I feel, then I'll know how I should behave. And he's saying, I cannot do this, because number one, if you look again in Pasuk Vav, he says, Chalila lima Hashem. First of all, it's a sin against Hashem, because it's Hashem's anointed one. It's not my business to kill Hashem's anointed one. And number two, he's Adoni Mashiach Hashem. That you figure that his time has come away. No, he is Ki Mashiach Hashemu. I checked out and I can still feel he still has some holiness. Some of that oil on him, whatever, the Kedusha is still there. He has a certain amount of Kedusha, and therefore it's not my place to do this. And therefore, Pasuk Zion, they were not happy to hear those words. So David is able to separate, the group. When a mob has a feeling, they just do things. They can say, if you don't kill him, we're killing him anyway. So he has to splinter the group up, as it were. That's what it means by Yeshasa. Yeshasa also comes in the Torah from split hooves. Shasa, split hooves. So he splits up their hooves, literally, so they don't march together, as it were. Because Shul still hasn't left the cave. They said, look, you're not going to come, that's fine, we'll come, because their lives are in danger as well. And we'll see in a minute, he is going to talk to Shul, and it would certainly be better for him to talk here where he is protected, but so he's afraid that his cohorts wouldn't allow him to do it. So he waited till Shul got further away. So this is all the way the Malbim interprets what's going on over here.
Rabbi, wasn't there also a point on David's thinking perhaps that if he does that, then he can come and confront Shul and say, look, I could have killed you right then and there, but maybe we should resolve our issue.
So hang on, we're not done. We're not done. Story's not over.
Oh.
Story is far from over. I'm just beginning the story.
Ooh. Did we assume that Avitar, the coin, is not with him?
Yasar.
Yeah, he's not with him?
He's not a modern contemporary movie star.
Okay, whatever.
Avitar. Yasar.
Is he not?
Even Sephardi would say Evyatar.
Okay.
Evyatar.
Is he not with him? Because it'd be.
He is with him.
So before when he's in Kila, he said.
Why doesn't he ask to return? Could be it would take too much time.
Too much time. God, what should I do?
So one thing I would imagine, I can't imagine all 600 people were in the cave together. I can't. That's a very huge cave. It's a very huge cave, no? I'm guessing, when was the last time you saw 600 people in a cave? So number one, you could say probably maybe he's in a different group. You could say that. B, I don't know, if you can ask the return that quickly. Maybe the coin has to, go to the mikveh, purify himself.
It takes very long to answer here.
Well, we don't know how long it took. We don't know how long it took. The Navi just gives us the progression of events. Let's say it only takes 20 minutes. Let's say it takes 5 minutes. It's like a prophecy. You have to meditate, maybe daven mincha. Just going, hey God, what do you say? It's like, I'm sure there has to be some types of, just like when you daven or you become a Navi, you need a little bit of preparation. Maybe it takes 5 minutes. He doesn't have 5 minutes here. It's only going to take that long to do what he's got to do. So it's kind of almost a split decision, And that's why I'm assuming, the Urim Tumim isn't. I'm sure if it was available, he would have done it, and maybe B'dafka Hashem didn't want it to be available. Because all the other things were just more strategic issues. This is a moral issue. Although it's a strategic issue too, but as the story will unfold, and you will see very clearly, it is a very big moral issue. And sometimes a moral issue, sometimes Hashem doesn't give you, the easy way out, somebody to ask. Hashem is testing us, see, what do you say? And I think Hashem is putting David in this position, that David, you have to make this decision. This is going to be a critical moment in your life of deciding what kind of person you are. When Hashem tests people, this is a test for him. It's obviously a test for him. And therefore, if the Urim Tumim is there, it would take away a lot from the test. Hashem wanted to test him more. He doesn't even have the Urim Tumim ask, and it's kind of it's not like you can sleep on it, think about it, you've got to make a decision now. Those kinds of things, it depends on what kind of person you've developed into. Okay, where are you holding as a person right now? You don't have time to work on it, think about it. It's got to be a split decision. Right. And you see that David is using every tool correctly.
But then if it has to be a split decision, then the explanation we just had says that he was basically testing his conscience to see. Yeah. Therefore,
yes,
he may not get that chance if he decides, oh, I'm okay with this, I should go kill him. It's too late. He missed his opportunity.
Missed opportunity for what?
To kill him.
So therefore, it doesn't take long to cut the garment. That could take just a couple seconds.
And then all of a sudden, he says, oh, I'm okay with this.
How does he feel? And if he feels that it's something to do, then he would do it. That's one way of looking at it.
But that's like, cut, okay, stop. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, after, once you do something, you can usually feel, remember, you're not talking about me and you, we're talking about a tzaddik who's very much in touch with his neshama. It's very close to Hashem. I have to do something to make sure what to do. I don't have the Urim Tumim, so that's got to be myself being sure, and I'll do something, and we'll see how actions that you do impact. If you do a mitzvah, you're surrounded by holiness. That's what the Tanya says. If you do an avera, you're surrounded by unholiness. He'll know right away because he's in touch with his neshama how he feels. If he feels that it's not right, then it's not right. So that's his decision. Ralbag learns, and Vayesha Sadav, he splits up the group, that it's similar to the Malbim. There'll be one group, and they're going to divide them up, and that's what he says. I forgot which other commentary says. Another commentary says that he even physically got in their way. Be that as may, he stopped. Okay. Now this is the commentaries here. Now we have to go into the Gemara. And there's two very important pieces over here that the Musar Hanavim brings down. I have to look at some commentaries. Let's see, I brought a lot of swarm today. Gemara in Bracha, Samach Beis Amud Beis, talks about this event in great detail.
Came across us cutting the garment before, but I don't remember where. But it wasn't in Bracha. I'm not there yet. We came across it somewhere.
So let's really start from here. And I'm just trying to figure the best way to do this over here, because some of this is still relating back to the next psukim over here. And one second. One second. Right. Anyway, I'm going to read this Gemara that's going a little bit ahead in the story, but it'll make sense. So Gemara Samach Beis Amud Beis says, when David speaks to Shul, he's going to mention words that are, he's saying, instead of saying that I could have killed you and I took compassion on you, he refers to it in third person. You'll see when we get to the pasuk, you'll see. He says, Va'amar lahargecha v'seichas alecha. David said, that he could have killed you and he had compassion on you, as opposed to Va'amarti miboile. It should have said, and I said to kill you. It says, and he said. Who's he? It says, and I said. And it says, and he had compassion. It should have said, and I had compassion. Why is he saying that? So Gemara says like this. Amar le David l'Shul. David said to Shul later on, Minat Torah hayamuta l'hargacha. According to Torah law, it was permitted for me to kill you. My time, why? Sha'arei rodei fatah. You've been chasing after me. V'atara Amar, and the Torah says, Ba l'hargacha. If somebody comes to kill you, hashkem l'hargo. You get up first and you kill him. Ela tznius shahoyse b'cha. But the tznius, the modesty that you had, chasa alecha, took compassion on you. So now you understand. It doesn't say I said to kill you, but rather the Torah said to kill you. V'amar lahargecha, and it said to kill you. The Torah said to kill you. It wasn't that I was saying to kill you. I was only going to do what the law was saying. The law says someone comes to kill you, kill him. And I didn't have compassion on you. The Torah told me to have compassion on you because I saw the tznius you had. As the commentaries say, the greatest place to test a person's tznius is in the washroom. Because there, nobody's looking. It's only a question of what's your relationship with Hashem. Now, of course, if you have to take a shower, you can't have clothes on. And if you go to the mikveh, you can't have clothes on. But when you go to the washroom, there's certain rules of modesty, even though you're alone, but you're not totally alone. And since you're not totally alone, the question is, how do you comport yourself? And therefore he says, it was the tznius that you had that saved you. Dichsiv, because the pasuk says, and we didn't make a big point of it when it said, Vayava al Gidros Hatzon, he came to the Gidros Hatzon. Literally, Geder means fences, ala derech, on the road. V'sham Mara, and there was a cave. V'yava Shol Asichas Raglov. Those were three clauses. So ton of the rabbis learned Gedaros is the plural, so Geder lifnim mi Geder. It was a wall within a wall. He made a protection within a protection. He was very careful to cover himself. Uma'ara lifnim mima'ara, and a cave within a cave. Lahasech, and now we learned that he made himself like a sukkah. So he really had a lot of tznius, and the commentaries bring us this proof that that tznius is actually the greatest place to understand that tznius is in the washroom. So therefore, so then what happens? So then Gemara says, David got up and he cut his garment secretly. Okay, now I'll just say to finish off the Gemara, we'll have to talk about this later. Gemara says, Kol mavazos habagodim, anybody who denigrates clothes, l'sof ein at the end will not benefit from it. As we see many years later, it says when David was older, Melech David Zakei, David is old, they covered him in clothing, they couldn't provide with him warmth. At the end of his life, he had bad blood circulation. Sometimes you feel very cold. He was very cold, and nothing could warm him up. I presume with bad circulation, put lots of blankets on, warms him up. No, nothing could warm him up, and that was a punishment. Mida keneged mida, for damaging Shaul's clothes. He gets punished. The clothes are not able to give him warmth. We will have to talk about that later. But I've got too much on the plate right now with the first part of the story. There's a lot on the plate here. So what's the idea of the tznius? So the question is, what's the idea of the tznius over here? So the Iyun Yaakov says an interesting pshat. The Iyun Yaakov says, Ki mitzvah be'idna da'asik bei agune megane atzule matzvah. When you are in the middle of doing a mitzvah, it protects you and saves you. That's a rule. When you're doing a mitzvah, again, if you're doing a mitzvah l'shem shemayim, Hashem surrounds you. Hashem mamish surrounds you with this mitzvah. As the Gemara says, Kol hatzanua b'beis hakisa, anyone who's modest in the bathroom, needs only gimel dvarim, you're saved from 3 bad things. Fine, whatever it is. Umikol shkein shat tznius roi lahagin alav, and therefore all the more so tznius will protect you. Why? Ki ein adam nesaf v'nerek shlo bismano, a person never is killed before his time. Kol zman shlo chot be'inyan shesor mimenu tzelem lakim, as long as you haven't sinned in a way that removes the image of God from you. In other words, when a person does averos, then the image of God is removed. Right? That's the idea. The image of God is removed. Tzelem lakim. So as long as that tzelem lakim is there, it can't be touched. We know that tznius causes the Shekhinah to descend upon you. Tznius and Shekhinah go hand in hand. How do we know this? Gemara Baba Basra. And we had it 2 weeks ago. What impressed Bilam so much about the Jewish people? Matov Alecha Yaakov. How goodly are the tents of Yaakov. He saw that the doorways of the tents were not opposite the other ones. He says, these people, it's fitting that the Shekhinah should descend upon them. Because why? Because they don't want to see things, they're modest. Right? Aleim Shekhinah. And also it says, Lo yira b'cha er v'sdavar, you shouldn't see things that should be covered up. V'shav ma'acharecha. So tznius clearly causes the Shekhinah to descend on people. So therefore, what David HaMelech is saying is, your tznius saved you. You've done Averos, no question about it, but the Tzelem Elokim has not left you yet. Why? Because you still are so very much into the tznius. If you were really that bad, the tznius would go. When tznius goes, then you know that Tzelem Elokim is gone. The Shekhinah is gone. If the king's still, you've been anointed, you've got a problem, you have a certain Avera, no question about it, and it still appears, at least the way it appears in the story, Hashem is still giving Shaul time to do tshuva. Right? Remember, he's been given a lot of golden opportunities to do tshuva. Right? When it was to kill Amalek was the time to do tshuva, not to kill Achimelech was the time to do tshuva. Hashem's been awfully patient with him, and now he's giving him one last time to do tshuva. Because David could have killed him, and as we'll see in the story, as the story progresses, you'll see that Shaul's just about ready to do the tshuva. So close to doing the tshuva. Because we'll see as the story unfolds how this impacts on him. So, how could that happen? Why is Hashem giving all those chances? Because he still has the Tzelem Elokim. He still has the tznius. Yes, he's made a mistake in his Gvuras Hadas. Not going to argue with that. Yes, we're not going to say he hasn't killed out a whole city of Kohanim. Not going to argue with that. But the Tzelem Elokim is still there. He was such a great person. And the tests that Hashem gave him were very big tests. And therefore, Hashem said, he still is the anointed one. And he still was comporting himself with the Tzelem Elokim. And you'll see, and therefore, David felt, I cannot kill him.
Shaul comes from Rachel, right?
Yosef. Rachel had tznius too. It's a whole thing. Rachel had tznius. Yosef had tznius. He had tznius. It was a trait. It was a trait of tznius, which really means, you understand who Hashem is, you understand who you are, and you don't behave in ways you shouldn't behave. Right? Now you can understand why so much tragedies in the world globally are happening, because the whole world has no tznius. And even a goy has to have a shtickle Tzelem Elokim. Right? A little bit. And there's no Tzelem Elokim, so it's something to talk about.
But this logic almost says like if you're tznius, and it's almost like it's a license, you can still be an evil person underneath all that tznius.
We're not saying that. Shaul was not an evil person.
Well, you can still pursue to murder somebody. You
don't understand. When you get the wrong idea in your mind, you can make a lot of big mistakes. An evil person says, I want to kill people because I want to kill people. Shaul was the king, and he felt everything he was. If a person indeed rebels against the king has he really felt Achimelech was a rebel. That was it. And he was thoroughly convinced of it.
And he asked Astura.
Right? And what's the name again? Doeg told him. Doeg was the Rosh Sanhedrin.
But even before Doeg, he was trying to kill David.
Because he felt. We've got to remember also Hashem gave him some psychological problems. You have no idea how bad that depression was and how jealousy works within a person. And again, as we've been learning from Rav Tzvi Meir on Shabbos morning, a person doesn't realize what motivates his midos, his behavior, how deep-seated the midos rows are. A person can be a tzaddik and be affected and make mistakes. Believe me, the test that Hashem gave Shaul, me and you would never come close to being able to handle the test that was going on over here. Hashem tested him incredibly strong.
But I'm just saying that
he doesn't go out. He wasn't the guy. He wasn't the guy that was a despotic king that raised taxes and did that and had a million wives, harlots and this and that. He was a God-fearing Jew who's making one big mistake.
He killed the whole family.
He didn't kill out the family.
Yeah.
Moab killed the family. Doeg killed the Kohanim. The Kohanim. He felt the Kohanim were in cahoots with David. He had to teach people a lesson. That's all. You'll see David himself, when he gets older, tells Shlomo, find ways to kill these guys who I feel you should kill. The Melech no less did it. When it was appropriate, it was totally correct. Shaul made a mistake. It's all when you make a mistake, then you do behaviors that are wrong. Remember, when tzaddikim sin, it's not coming from a low place. It's coming from a high place. Already saw from Tzaddik, Hashem gives you unbelievably difficult tests. His failure by the Amalek was an unbelievable hard test. He fails that test. Now Hashem takes away his spirit. Very hard to deal with that. And now, and David, and remember, this Doeg is feeding him Lashon Hara. Feeding it to him all the time. Imagine if Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was telling you Lashon Hara about somebody. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein doesn't come close to what Doeg was in terms of stature. Guess Rabbi Moshe Feinstein said, Shelley, I want you to know, this David guy, better be careful for him. Rabbi Moshe told me, it's a kleinigkeit. It's not that he just come out of nowhere. 3 times he's already split Lashon Hara. Right? And for us, it doesn't even take once. One Lashon Hara, you're ready to bury a guy. Right? One time, one shtick of Lashon Hara. It was coming from very powerful places.
Also, it's not like he said to him, it doesn't matter. All he's doing is giving him an opportunity to do tshuva. And you can do tshuva for murder.
I'm just saying we're excusing self.
We're not excusing. Why are you using the word excusing? Who is excusing him?
Because we're saying that
he is going to die a horrific death.
No, but right now.
And Hashem doesn't want to kill people who've made mistakes. He wants them to do tshuva.
He gives us a chance. He gives us years to
I'm just saying, we're saying that because he's so sneas.
Therefore, it means he is still a tzaddik who has made a mistake that Hashem wants him to do tshuva on. He's not going to get away with anything. But Hashem, if you make mistakes, Shelley, do you want Hashem to give you another chance?
Yeah, but I'm not murdering people.
Doesn't matter.
Or telling people to kill all.
He didn't murder them. He did it as an act of a king who felt that according to the law, my job, if you're going to say that, then you can say David HaMelech murdered a lot of people too. Well, he's killing, he killed a lot of advisors. He told Shlomo, not when I die, get rid of these guys.
Women and children and babies.
Well, let me tell you like this. If there's an Ir Hanidachas, what's the law of an Ir Hanidachas? A city you tell me the law of an Ir Hanidachas, you learned it.
Kill them all out.
Kill them all out. Jewish women and children. If these people could be so bad, we have to teach a lesson to everybody. Obviously it's wrong. We're not condoning. We are not condoning what he did. He is going to have to pay the price for this later. There's no question about it. Hashem wants him to do tshuva before he dies, and is giving him opportunities. So at the end of the day, Shaul dies a much more horrific death. If David would have killed him now, you'd be sure it would have been fast and sweet. It would just chopped his head off. If David would have killed him, it wouldn't have been a torturous death. He would have just killed him instantly, and he'd be done. And the death Shaul had was so horrific, as we'll see, because all those chances, he didn't do it. So he didn't get away with anything. And no one excused what he did. But Hashem always wants to have a person to do tshuva. He did an aver. What does Hashem want at the end of the day? It was wrong, no question about it. It didn't come from a place like how an Esav would kill people. He really felt he was doing the right thing, and he was doing it according to that story. It was wrong. No one's excusing it. But after all is said and done, Hashem says, he's one of my children, and I want him, before he leaves this world, to have done tshuva. And I will give him opportunities to do tshuva. And David says, it's not my place to go against the will of Hashem. And Hashem will take care of him at the time it's meant to be. And it's not me to be a vigilante. That's all. Hashem will deal with this. And I've tested it out, and I've tried, and I see my neshama isn't into this, and my neshama is telling me it's not the right thing to do. Die, he will die. Punish, he'll be punished. But it ain't going to be me, because now is not the time. He still has time to do tshuva. That's all. No one's excusing anything. And as long as he has the Tselem Elokim, the fact, a guy who would be just an abrasive murderer wouldn't care how he peed in the washroom. So he still has that tznius. He still has holiness to him. Made a mistake. Let's go through the list of all the great people in the world, holy people who made mistakes.
And you can see in the last...
Okay, one more question.
Okay, people make mistakes. We can't appreciate. He's not just. Don't look at him as a serial killer who we're excusing. I mean, don't you? Chas v'shalom. Shaul was a tzaddik yisod olam. If Shaul would be in the room here, you'd be blinded by the light of the Shekhinah on him. But great people make great mistakes, not out of being bad, but out of making a mistake. It's really a mistake, and that's how we have to look at it. It comes out to be a very gruesome mistake, but this didn't come out of his low character per se.
Didn't David have an obligation to kill him because he's being pursued in Torah?
No, because you'll see in a minute that no, you're not obliged. You can, and we'll see in a minute. The Torah also says if someone's pursuing you and you have a way to stop him from killing you without killing him, you're obliged to not kill him. If a guy is going after you and all you need to do is disarm him. Let's say the guy's got a gun. Okay, guy's got a gun. You are stronger than him, but he's got a gun. All you have to do, really, whack the gun, and if you know you're able to, if you can whack the gun out of his hand or take the gun from him, you're very good in Krav Maga. And I can, in 1 second, I'll give him a move. I got the gun and finished. Then you don't have to. Then you're not allowed to kill him. If you can stop him without killing him, you're not allowed to. And if you kill him, you're a murderer.
Okay, but he's throwing swords at him already. He's trying to get.
You didn't hear. So now maybe he has a way to have him stop him, kill him. And that's coming out. You're going to see it till next week. He's going to tell Saul, man, I had you. I could have killed you. You know I could have killed you. And I let you go. Now that wouldn't be the best way to convince the guy that I don't have any ideas to take him over. David felt this would be the way to stop it. And it works temporarily. So David feels I have an obligation to stop him from killing me, for sure. But if I could do it in a way to not kill him, that's the halacha. And David's following exactly the halacha. It's not just letting him go and he's still searching for him. He's going to, and we'll see next week, he's going to tell him publicly. Everyone's going to hear. Here's your little garment. How do you think I got a hold of this garment? How do you think I got a hold of this garment? You were a dead man, and I let you go. Now, do you think I really want to hurt you? If I really wanted to hurt you, wouldn't I have killed you by now? So that's the way to save himself. But what did Shaul still have that Hashem enabled him that? It was his tznius, because David could still feel, you know what, this man still has holiness. This man is, if you still have the Tzalmud Kim, you still have the ability to do tshuva. If he has the ability to do tshuva, at the end of the day, we don't want him dead. We want him to do tshuva. Hashem will punish him as he deserves. And the next, whatever, he's got to be punished for what he did, no question about it. But it's not my place to do it if it's still a way to help him out.